Hey y'all, today's video is about rapper Big Lurch. Big Lurch was born Antron Singleton on September 15th, 1976. He was born in Fort Worth, Texas, and grew up in East Dallas. He began writing poetry at the age of 7 and later pursued a career in rap. Big Lurch's first performance was in 1990. He rapped using the stage name G Spade early in his career before he changed his name to Big Lurch, a nickname given to him by his peers. He made his debut appearance in 1996 on E40's 1996 album, The Hall of Game. He appeared on songs by artists such as DJ Unique, Matt Dre, Yup Mouth, and Outlaws. Big Lurch had an unfortunate event happen on September 16th, 2000. He was driving his car when a drunk driver crashed into him. He suffered a broken neck and was heavily medicated in the hospital. He wrote the song Texas Boy while on medication. He was still in a lot of pain and he began using PCP to help his pain. Big Lurch's debut album called It's All Bad was released in 2004. A number of artists was featured on it like Too Short, Lil Kiki, Sibo, and Killa Tay. So after the accident, Big Lurch said he broke his neck, he was paralyzed, and he went through rehab and was having a hard time dealing with the pain and stress. He said a few labels acted as if they wanted to help him since he was down and out and wanted to nurse him back to health and help him do an album. He said this in an interview from jail. He said one of them was a LA label who told him to come out there and he would work with Roger Troutman Jr. He said he went to LA and once he started working on the album, all of a sudden all their gangbang callers came out. He said they were basically tripping in the studio. He said, "You knew who I was when you met me, and you said this would be professional." He said now he's in the studio feeling uncomfortable because they had their Crips homeboys up in there and they had this ghetto thing going on, so he wanted out. So he went back to Texas and caught a case. He wanted to put his music out and he was having tension with this label now because they tricked him, he said. He needed money, so he sold some dope and went to jail. He said when he got out of jail, those same people helped him get a lawyer, and it was a lawyer from the Rodney King trial who had Crips ties. They said they were going to keep it professional, so he decided to honor his word and finish the album, and that would be it. He came to LA and did the album, but was having the same problem, but decided to finish the album so he wouldn't have to keep looking over his back all the time, but there was tension there. Big Lurch said he's heard the names of all those guys they were bringing around, and since they were bringing those guys around, he went to his hood and started bringing around some of his homeboys so they could see that they couldn't play with him like that. Now, on April 10th, 2002, the unthinkable thing happened. Big Lurch was accused of murdering his roommate's girlfriend, Tynesha, in their apartment in Los Angeles. Big Lurch had previously used PCP, and allegedly neighbors reported hearing thrashing sounds that were followed by an argument and screaming. Tynesha was found in the apartment by a friend. Allegedly, her chest had been torn open and a 3-inch blade was found broken off in her shoulder blade. Teeth marks were found on her face and her lungs, which had been torn from her chest. Ooh, child. Now, allegedly, Big Lurch was naked, covered in blood, standing in the middle of the street and staring at the sky when police arrived and arrested him. Allegedly, human flesh was found in Big Lurch's stomach. He had taken previously the PCP drug, and in his Vlad interview, Big Lurch said when he came to, he was in LA County for 2 weeks and didn't realize it. So basically, that's when he finally sobered up. He said you get stuck. You could be walking around and not know what's going on. He said you'll be unconscious, but you're still moving around and all that. That PCP really messes people up. He said he was already arraigned in everything, and he said his lawyer was that same man, Milton Grimes, that owned the label. He said the paperwork only said what the lawyer wanted it to say. He said when he was in court, he didn't know what was going on. They had him in mental health and he was told not to take the stand. He said the lawyer said they needed to make it look as bad as they can so he could go to the mental hospital and he would be out in 2 years. Big Lurch said, "But I didn't do it." He said the lawyer told him to trust him, that he knew what he was doing. There was DNA found on the scene that did not belong to Big Lurch or Tynesha. Big Lurch also mentioned on his Vlad interview that there was a pit bull in that house, and the lawyer knew that. He said the lawyer did not bring up the dog in the case. Big Lurch said the small particle of flesh they allegedly found inside of him, the DNA test said that it was his flesh. He said when they went to the house, all they found was the body. He said it was a dope house and they had dope and guns on the table at all times. And they didn't say they found that there. They only found her body. The house had been cleaned up. He said one of the guys admitted that they made him say Big Lurch told him to leave and they still let him get on the stand to testify. Big Lurch said he was diagnosed with bipolar many years ago, and that same lawyer, Milton Grimes, had got him out of the mental institution, but he didn't bring any evidence to court to show that. Big Lurch said he had a history of mental illness, but during the insanity phase of the trial, the lawyer didn't present the proper evidence for the insanity phase of that trial. He went in there talking about Big Lurch being high on PCP, but you can't file not guilty based on insanity off being on drugs or intoxication. Big Lurch said the DA had put in a motion to dismiss on the grounds of him being on PCP, and the judge granted it, and then he asked the lawyer Milton if he had any evidence of Big Lurch having a mental illness, and he said no, when he was the one who actually got him out of that mental institution on the bipolar thing. Then the judge found him guilty. On November 7th, 2003, Big Lurch was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Big Lurch said on that interview that he was getting attacked in prison. He said they were saying things to endanger his life and he's getting tortured. It's a sad interview. You can go listen to it on YouTube. Big Lurch believes he was set up. I also read that Tynesha's mother does not believe that Big Lurch killed her daughter. She thinks her boyfriend actually killed her. I read an article on reddit.com, Unresolved Mysteries, where it says that Tynesha's mother, Carolyn, said that Tynesha's boyfriend was beating on her and that she had her stuff packed and ready to leave the day all this happened. According to the article, she said that the bottle of PCP had been poured down her daughter and Big Lurch's throat, that they didn't smoke it willingly. The article says the police had told her that the amount of PCP in her daughter's system, it wouldn't have been possible for her to smoke that much. She believes the boyfriend set it all up. She believes Big Lurch found her lung on the floor and began to eat it, thinking it was a piece of meat. Allegedly, the murder was committed with a child's scooter, and a bloody handprint was found on the scooter that did not belong to Big Lurch. This story is sad and crazy. I'm sorry about what happened to that poor girl. I can't imagine what her mom and family went through. And if Big Lurch is innocent, I hope he gets out of there. Ooh, child, this whole thing is just mind-boggling to me. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time.